welcome back to the bench. Today I'm going to try and answer a question that I get asked quite a bit actually, and that is, can you solder to 18650 cells? Now these are LG cells. These are, the good ones. They are the type of cells you'd use to make a flight pack to use as an alternative to a lithium polymer battery, because these have a much higher energy density than lithium polymer. So if you want to fly for a long time or fly a long distance, these will give you the best return on the amount of weight you're carrying. But anyway, I'll put specs to these cells in the description of this video so you can see what we're talking about. Now, of course, the problem is they come as bare cells. How do you connect these up? Because you want to have obviously a connector on here and a balance lead for charging and so forth. So traditionally, cells like this are spot welded, where you have a little spot welding machine and it welds little tabs on there. And that's great. But if you just want to make a few packs up, you don't want to invest in a spot welder. Although they're not too expensive now in places like AliExpress and Banggood and places like that. I think even have the spot welders for 18650 cells, but huge overkill. If you just want to make yourself, like in this case, I just want to make a 2-cell pack for my next sub 250 build. So can you solder to them? Well, let's take a look at this cell. You'll be able to see that I've already soldered to this one. You can see there's a little blob of solder on there, and that's actually alloyed. It's not just sitting on the top, as could happen if you're not careful. And on the other end, which is even harder, I've got another little blob of solder there, which has been carefully alloyed with the thing. Notice they're very small blobs of solder. I haven't tried to cover the whole damn thing with solder, because one of the enemies, if you want to solder to these cells, the biggest problem you're going to face is the risk of overheating them, making them get too hot. And remember, inside here we've got chemicals, and if you get them too hot, you'll stuff them. They won't work. You'll damage the cells irreparably. Might even make them dangerous. So first rule of thumb is do not try and solder to a fully charged cell. And just in case something goes wrong, you want as little energy in there as possible. Now these are straight out of the pack. They're in a storage. I think, let's measure the voltage and see what's in there, but there's not a lot of voltage in there. There's still a bit of energy, but not a lot of voltage. So we really want to keep the risk to a minimum. These are at, I will tell you in a moment, 3.46 volts per cell. So they are on storage basically for a lithium ion cell. Remember, with lithium ions, these don't put out as much voltage as your lithium polymers. These only put out I think it's I can't remember actually, but it's lower voltage anyway. It's not the 4.2 volts a cell you expect from your lithium polymers. So a 2-cell pack, you've got to be a bit careful with 2-cell packs, because when you make a 2-cell pack in a lithium polymer, that will go, once it gets down to say, I don't know, 7 volts, it's pretty damn flat. These things will operate right down to about 5.5 volts before they're really flat. So if you want to get the full amount of power out of them, you've got to have electronics that can operate successfully at down to 5 volts or so. If you don't, then your lights are going to go out and you're not going to get full energy out of these. So it's almost tempting to say, well, you use a 3-cell pack if you were using a 2-cell LiPo, but then you've got the extra weight. So this one of the reasons I'm making this pack is I just want to see how well a 2-cell pack will work with my existing electronics. That's my camera, my video transmitter, and so forth. My receiver, that's not a problem, because they'll handle the lower voltages quite happily, and same with the servos. So I guess I should show you how I went about putting this solder on the ends of these cells. Now the first thing, of course, with any kind of soldering is you got to have the right tools, and don't skimp out. And now I've done a whole video on soldering, and if I remember, I'll link to it in the description of this one, but I'll show you over here we have my soldering station. If this will focus, there we go. I'll pull out a bit actually, because we are in this. There we go. This is a Hako. I forget the model. Is it? Oh, I can't remember, but it's a good quality soldering station. It really does the job well. You can buy the El Cheapo $25 irons, but they don't have the same temperature control, and they generally don't have the same heat reserve. What that means is when they get hot, they get really hot. As soon as you put them on a piece of work like a battery, the heat gets sucked out and the temperature drops. These are temperature controlled. So as you start drawing heat out of the tip, they ramp up the power and put more energy into it to keep the temperature relatively constant. Because as I said, the big danger with soldering cells like this is that you overheat them and damage them. So you want a temperature controlled iron. Really, unless you're very, very good, I wouldn't even attempt this with a non-temperature controlled iron. But I would rather that you bought yourself a really good soldering station than a spot welder, because a good soldering station has many, many uses in the hobby. We're soldering wires all the time these days with electric models. So let's stop blathering on and let's show you what you do. Now, what you need to do is these ends will have a bit of oxide on them. They look shiny and metally, but there's going to be a little bit of oxide. That's just the way the universe works. The laws of physics, oxygen is a very reactive element. It's in the air, it combines with metals to make an oxide. So you want to get rid of that. And the best way to do it is by abrasion. Don't use acid flux. No, that will kill things. Well, kill them immediately. If you get the old plumber's flux, which some people have done, and you put a bit on there, yeah, it'll get it really shiny, but as time goes on, the flux continues to corrode not only the battery, but the wire connected to it, and your wires will fall off. They'll corrode and fall off. So never ever use an acid flux. In fact, if you do this properly, you don't actually need any flux other than the flux that comes in your flux core solder. A little word about solder. Don't use tin only solder. Use a good leaded solder. It has to have lead in it to give you the kind of results you want. The tin solders are, they just don't work as well. They tend to go pasty rather than have a, what's the word, hypereutectic properties. They don't melt, they just go pasty and get softer and then run. So it's really hard to get a good job done with the tin solders. Use lead. This one here is 60% tin, 40% lead. Those are about the properties. You may find other ones with 37% lead and 63% tin. It just depends on which solder you use, but just get a good quality one. I do have another really good quality solder here, but I'm going to use my lesser quality one, and some solders even have silver, which is even better, a little bit of silver in there, but I'm going to use this because this will make it harder. So it won't work as well as it could, which means you won't feel so bad when you don't get it dead right either. Right, so first thing, I've got a bit of sandpaper here. It's not even the right grade. I'd like a finer sandpaper. I'm going to give these a bit of a scrub on the top here, just to get through that oxide layer. Just give it a bit of a scratch. Yeah, I should have used a finer sandpaper, but I didn't. Initially on the other one, I didn't even use sandpaper. I just wanted to give it a worst case. Righto. So there we go. I've scratched off a bit of the oxide. Now I'm going to get my soldering iron. Make sure the tip is clean. You get a little sponge if you've got a little sponge there. And you want to put a little bit of solder on here, just a little bit, just to get it so that you've got a layer that will conduct the heat very quickly. And then you want to get ready to heat the top. Hope this is all in shot because I can't see what I'm doing. You want to be able to heat the top with the iron and push a bit of solder in there. And at the same time, just scrape it around on the top. There we go. I've done it. You see how quick that was? I'll just give it a bit of an extra. There you go. That's the only time. It was like less than a second to get that lovely blob of solder on the top there. So this hasn't had a chance to heat up at all. I could put my thumb on there. It's not even going to burn me. It didn't even get really warm to the touch, but it's soldered perfectly. I'll give you a close-up of it so you can see what I'm talking about. There you go, and I even wound the exposure down so it doesn't blow the highlights out. See that? See how quick that was? And that's perfectly alloyed. This is not just a blob sitting on the top that's going to scrape off. This, you'd have to grind that off because that's alloyed. And a good solder job, what happens is that the solder itself alloys with the metal underneath. It doesn't just sit on there held on by a bit of flux. It actually creates an alloy at the interface between the solder and the base metal. Another reason why you want to use lead, some base solder, is because lead helps the alloying process. You get a much better alloying if you're using lead in the solder than if you just use tin. Tin is a bit less inclined to alloy with the base materials you're soldering to. So you get a fantastically much better result. Now, notice I scraped the oxide off that one. I hadn't scraped the oxide off this one. So this one didn't, the second one's much better. See, that one, it's smaller because I didn't scrape the oxide off. But with this one, I scraped the oxide off with a bit of sandpaper and it just, boom, in a flash of a second, she was done. Now let's try the other end. As before, I'm going to scrape off the oxide that is formed on the bottom of this battery because that will just interfere with the alloying process. Oxidation, there's no such word as oxidization, although people tend to think, and even I sometimes forget. I really want to get down through the oxide layer there, give my solder something to alloy to. Again, clean the tip of your iron. It needs to have, because any horrible old oxidized solder on there will make it harder to do the job. And then, as I say, you want to put a bit of solder on there just to give you the conductivity. And my hands are terrible today. I'm sorry about that. I should have taken more meds this morning, but we'll go. Oops, and then you give it a bit of a swirl around. There we go, I've done it. See that? So I had solder on the tip of the iron and I fed solder in as I put the iron onto the bottom of the battery. Then I gave it a bit of a swirl around with the tip of the iron just to make sure that there's a little bit of work involved in it. Instantly alloyed. Now there's a little bit here which might not be. Yeah, that wasn't. See, there's a little tiny piece there that was just sitting on the top of this. Totally stuck to the battery. Again, I'll do a close-up here so we can see what I'm talking about. And there we go. You can see that is perfectly alloyed with the metal base of the battery. And again, there's no heat. I can put my thumb on there. It's not even hot. It's not even warm because I've done it so very quickly. So this is where practice makes perfect. Now, I've been soldering for, I don't know, nearly 60 years, I suppose. So yeah, I'm pretty good at it. I've got to admit, I'm not a novice. And a lot of people have a lot of trouble when they start, which is why I recommend you go and look at my soldering tutorial video. It gives you lots of useful tips and hints how you can do the job better, because generally you don't even need much practice. You just need to understand the basics, what's actually going on and the right tools to use and the right right strategies, the right way to do it. And it doesn't take a lot of practice to get this good. I'm just really old. I'm getting worse now because my hand's getting so bad with the Parkinson's. But there you go. So now to make this pack up, to turn this into a battery pack. Okay, now we've got this all tinned up. So we're going to connect a wire to it. So you get your wire, I'm going to use a JST connector. You just strip back a few millimeters. If you live in the European or the rest of the world, in America, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch. And then you need to tin this wire. This is all part of my other soldering course anyway, so just get that out of the way. I just need to tin this, which means I've got to get a good coating of solder on these wires here. So I just changed my glasses because I put my other specs on. Oh, it's terrible getting old. Your body falls apart at great speed. Okay, so now I just put a bit of, clean the tip, get a bit of solder on the tip, and then I just tin that like so. So now you can see, hopefully, these are the wrong glasses too. I've got a good blob of solder. I just actually do a better job of that. I'm trying to do this without getting my head in the shot of the camera, so rightio. Now this piece of wire has a great big blob of solder on it. Not a big blob, but it's all tinned. And again, you've got to do this reasonably quickly. If you spend too long, then the flux that's in the solder boils away and you end up with an oxide on the solder and nothing really works very well. So what we've done here is we've got solder on the battery, we've got solder on the wire. Now all I have to do to make this work is put the two bits together with my shaky hands like this, and then just apply some pressure and heat, and they should just flow together. And again, this will be a very quick operation. There we go. Actually, it bounced up a little bit there, but that's fine. That is really firmly on there. That's all it takes, and that's as long as it takes. And again, as I say, I can put my finger on here, not getting burnt because nothing really got hot other than the solder. That's it. And of course, I'll do the other battery, which I've got here, do the other end of that, like so, because that's going to be the negative. I'll just repeat the process for you so you can see what's going on. Just pull back a bit of the wire and tin it up so that we've got plenty of solder there. And as I say, do this operation very quickly. Oh, you don't know what a frustration it is working with these hands. You have to laugh, eh? And then clean the tip because you don't want oxidized solder. Then again, you put this over the part there, and then just a bit of heat and a bit of pressure from your iron, and it will all just flow together. It ain't coming off anytime soon. There you go. So that's either end. And again, look, finger, no burns, perfectly cool. There you go. So now all I have to do is put these two together and join that in. I'm not going to waste your time doing that because that's all you need to see. So yes, you can solder 18650 cells, no problems at all, as long as you use the right technique and you've got the necessary, reasonably good, tools to do the job. And if you just practice, and as I say, you can't go wrong. If it doesn't happen in the first 3 or 4 seconds, just stop, let it cool, try again. These aren't fantastic soldering joints. I'm going to tidy these up before I use the pack, but I was trying to, as I say, I don't want to get my head in the shot here because it kind of ruins things if I do that. But you saw the basic techniques, and this electrical is perfectly sound. There you go. Thank you for watching. Now, if you've got any questions, comments, if there's anything you would like to know that I haven't included here, then please feel free to ask. I hope all that was in shot. I couldn't see because I'm in a really awkward place trying to do this with the camera. Build your own battery packs. Build your own 18650 battery packs. Real quick, really simple, really easy, and they do really perform very well as long as you use the right cells. Don't buy the cheapy 10 million milliampere hour cells off Banggood or whatever, because they're crap. Just get good cells. I think LG make good cells, Samsung make good cells, and I think Sony and Panasonic might also be in the running, but these, as I say, are the LG cells. And there you go. That's it. Thanks to my Patreon supporters who make this all possible and save you from those hideous mid-roll ads that appear so often on other people's videos. There you go. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.